Hi, it's Paul Maunder from Production Expert. Today we've got something very exciting to talk about because the new version of SoundFlow, SoundFlow 6, has just launched, and this is now closely integrated into Pro Tools, and it introduces a whole raft of new features. I'm joined by Christian from SoundFlow. Christian, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Paul.
Now, I remember probably 8 years ago, we covered on the Production Expert blog SoundFlow version 1.
Yeah, that's right. That was back in 2017, and I think we've worked with you guys for every release since then. Massive fans of Production Expert.
Likewise, we're massive fans of SoundFlow, and am I right in thinking that originally you developed SoundFlow for your own purposes before it was even a product?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the history goes all the way back 14 years to 2011 when, I was working as a sound editor in film school and just needed to find a way to work faster with the preview button. And now here we are, 14 years later, still going strong.
And in the initial versions, in fact, in every version so far, I believe SoundFlow has done what it does, initiating all the macros and so on, with kind of a workaround using the macOS accessibility features. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. You can say it's always been a little bit of a hacked solution that we somehow made work. Going back all those 14 years, it's been, just a pragmatic approach to trying to find the best way to take something that's inherently a little bit unstable and then build layers of workarounds and duct tape to hold it together and then present it to users in the best possible way that we could to make it appear as if it was like an official API that was fully supported. And then over the years, instead of pushing that away, Avid has embraced that and realized the magnitude of the service it does to the whole industry and their users and the community. And there were definitely some times along the way where we were a little bit scared that they would shut us down or they would consider this too much of a hack. But yeah, fortunately, it's been a partnership that has continued to evolve to the benefit for the whole community.
And not just evolve, but now in SoundFlow 6, you've managed to actually integrate SoundFlow directly into Pro Tools.
Yeah, and this is beyond exciting, and I'm so grateful, to the community and to Avid and my team in particular. It's been, I can't even count, like probably a year and a half of really hard work to get to this point with SoundFlow 6 and Pro Tools 2025.10. Do you want to take a look at what it is we've been working on?
I'm excited to see it.
So what what is it that we've been working on? You mentioned before that we're now built into Pro Tools, but what does that mean? In the past, we had the Avid edition, which was a way to get sort of this official free version of SoundFlow in Pro Tools, but it was still a hack, as we talked about. It's still based on accessibility, and it was still something that lived outside of Pro Tools. So what's new in this release is that SoundFlow comes pre-installed with Pro Tools on both macOS and Windows, and we now offer this panel, the SoundFlow panel, directly in your edit window. In this, you can sign in with either your Avid account or your SoundFlow account, and it will automatically sync things up. So if you're an existing SoundFlow user, you'll have immediate access to everything you've built, and commands and macros and scripts built for SoundFlow 5 and previous Pro Tools versions will continue to work. But we've got way more exciting things for what you can build with this integration, leveraging the new technology. And for users who don't have SoundFlow accounts yet, you can just sign in with any Avid account and it'll automatically set you up. And you'll get access to more than 1,700 free macros.
Wow.
No codes, you don't have to go into myavid.com. It's not restricted to a specific version of Pro Tools, or tier of Pro Tools, or, you don't have to have this. It's just, if you've got Pro Tools 2025.10 or newer, you'll get that access. And so here we've got our official Pro Tools deck where I can navigate through, perform actions directly in my timeline. And just, you can see here, This is an early indication that something's different, right? So if somebody remembers these macros, these would used in the past, they would open up the pop-up menus for you.
Yeah, I remember. It would always almost be like a ghost was operating your machine, opening menus, clicking things.
Exactly. And that was because even with accessibility being kind of a pretty good integration, it would still have to, in some cases, simulate mouse clicks and keyboard. And of course, one problem with that is that it's very Mac specific and it doesn't scale well. And if you're using your computer for something else, it might fail. But we now have a deeper integration. We can talk a little bit more about how that technology works later. But if we just, browse through here, you'll see I always love showcasing the preview button because that's where it all started.
If you can ask a question, obviously there's so many things that you can scroll through there, but if you wanted to find something, I can see there's a search function.
Yeah, exactly. So that same preview function I can find here, for example. And this actually allows you to search through your entire library of SoundFlow commands. So if you're a new user, you'll have access to those around 1,700 macros for free through this search or through the navigation here. But if you're an existing SoundFlow Pro user, and we can get back to that later, why I'm now calling it SoundFlow Pro and not SoundFlow Cloud Pro. Mm-hmm. For one, it's easier to pronounce. But yeah, so I can search for anything specific to my account in the search field here and get immediate access to it without having to open SoundFlow.
That's cool.
Maybe that's worth mentioning. So we're not sharing the part of my screen right now with the SoundFlow icon. That's usually up by, in the top right corner by the clock. But that's actually a feature, not a bug that we're not, that it's not going to show here. So we knew that now that we're getting pre-installed with Pro Tools, we need to find a way to be present here without taking over the computer with shortcuts and, our Yukon integration and MIDI and Stream Decks, because some people might want to choose which of those features they want to enable. And if we just started doing that whenever you open Pro Tools, that might be a problem for people. Okay, so we run in the panel in what we call headless mode, which is SoundFlow is just running in the panel and it's not, doing anything else until the point where you click here and say open SoundFlow. And then you'll get to the full experience.
Can you explain a little bit about the upload to cloud feature?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the biggest problems we've had with SoundFlow is, we presented users with these, one-click actions for a long time that, makes it possible for you to click something and then deterministically SoundFlow will do something for you. But the problem arose when if the user wants to customize that in any way, you would then have to go into SoundFlow, learn how the editor works, know how macros work, and then go in and start customizing them and build something entirely different. Or maybe it popped up with like a little question or two, but that was never a really good experience. So what we've been working on for SoundFlow 6 is what we call flows. And to make sure that it's a new form, basically, of conversational automation, as we call it, contextual automation even, where, these flows here will allow you to customize, but without making it super, super complex. So if I go in here, the first thing it's going to ask me, well, which output bus do you like to bounce from, which is, of course, really important. And then here we will be allowed to choose between any of the cloud services that we provide. So we can just use Samply for now. Let me see if it wants to log me in. And then all I got to do is select the project. So that was a totality of 3 choices, and then the rest is just deduced for you.
Cool. And I suppose the first time you do this, it will prompt you to log into those accounts.
Exactly. Yeah. And that all happens via OAuth. So it just happens really quickly in your browser without any complex setup. And then once I'm done, I can click the link to open that share link in my browser.
That's quick.
And then you can see you never left. Like, we've never opened SoundFlow. This is all happening directly inside Pro Tools. So you basically have the ability to bounce from Pro Tools straight to Frame.io, Dropbox, or Samply.
I presume you and your team are big Pro Tools users to even get into something like this. You must be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as we talked about before, I built this for myself to begin with. So yeah, we've definitely been inspired by problems we found ourselves in, and those are the solutions we try we try to fix or make more efficient. And one of them for this is once you've done these share links and you want to get comments back from your client, director, producer, band, whatever it is, there's actually a full workflow that maybe we don't have time to go into now and we've covered before, but that will allow you, once you share that link, you can get those markers back those comments back as markers directly inside Pro Tools.
Nice. I'm interested, as someone who does a fair bit of dialogue editing, and it's quite a time-consuming process. I can see on your screen there, select the best mic. It says automated selection of the best mics for dialogue content. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, let's open it up. This is another good example of what I talked about, contextual automation, in that it will monitor what you're selecting here. In this case, we don't have any questions for you. So this is a bit of an early stage product, I would say, in terms of the algorithm. And we may want to add one or two more screens to allow the user to customize this more. But the issue this addresses is, when you receive, dialogue, in early stages of dialogue editing, let's say you've got, multiple lav mics recorded in the same room with various people speaking. One of the first things I would do myself would be to mute whoever is not speaking, choose the best mic for every bit of dialogue. And so that's what this little algorithm will do for us. So the first time I load it, it is usually a little bit slower, but you can see it starts by bouncing whatever edit we currently have. And it'll load up the models, perform computations on the relative quality of the dialogue, and then choose the best ones.
Very useful. And it's automatically muted sections that it deems not to be the best bits.
Yeah. And of course, in the future, perhaps some people would prefer those to be deleted. Perhaps some users would prefer a different rate of, maybe do automatic crossfades. But yeah, you can imagine you do a quick edit like this, and then you send something straight on. No, of course, just to jump on that, the purpose of everything we're doing here is not to replace anybody's work. It's just to try to make the most tedious parts of workflow easier and quicker to do, so that you actually spend the time you have on being creative.
On another point, and I know we're going to cover this in a separate article, Luke's doing the piece on this, but Andrew's been busy as well with Bounce Factory. Just in brief.
Yeah, the Bounce Factory 2 is being launched together with this and is now also co-installed automatically in the sense that it's launchable from SoundFlow, no separate installation, and for the first time, you don't have to have a subscription to SoundFlow in order to be able to use Bounce Factory. We call this a Bounce Factory Express, which is then also a flow here that will, completely work in your in the side panel here. It wants me to have a selection, but yeah, you'll be able to add solo passes, mute passes, batch passes, and rename them directly inside the side panel here. And then once it starts bouncing, it will be able to do that, unattended. You can start using your computer for something else, because of course, through our new technology, we no longer have to use any mouse or keyboard simulation. What that means is also everything I'm showing you here will also work on Windows. So this whole side panel will be supported on Windows. What is not yet supported on Windows is the full SoundFlow experience. That will take a little bit more work that we hope to continue make progress on over the coming months and years with our keyboard triggers and Yukon integrations and all that other stuff. But for now, what I'm showing you here in the side panel with Bounce Factory, that will work on Windows as well.
Got you. And one final thing in the side panel, the session assistant, it says control your session with natural language.
Yeah, this is obviously really, really exciting. We've been looking for how do you marry, intelligent automation, this whole new AI revolution with what SoundFlow is good at, which is this more handwritten automation, where you define your macros and you make them deterministic. And, we've been used to professionally using this, many hundreds of commands every day, because you want to press a button and then something immediately happens that you have exact control over. But, being so good at that, we were continually questioning, how do we make something with AI that gives you more intuitive control over your session. So, and that became this session assistant that has a subset of all the commands you can do in Pro Tools, and it allows you to then either write down, you can have a conversation with it, you can give it instructions, and you can even use the voice commands feature here to talk directly with it. So I can say, create 10 new tracks for drums, name them how you normally name drum tracks. And let's see what it does, because of course this is non-deterministic, so it will depend on, I guess, the exact phrasing I give it, how it will perform that action. But you can see here we got kick, snare, hi-hat, tom, and it automatically deduced these should probably be mono audio tracks.
Wow.
So that's great.
And this is kind of like a large language model, is it?
Exactly. Yeah. It's much like from ChatGPT, you can have a conversation with it. You can say add a prefix like to those tracks, just as an example of that. It understands the context of your conversation, right? So now it will, when I say those tracks, it will know which ones I referred to, and then if I ask it to delete them again, it will understand that those are the tracks we talked about.
I see. But earlier you mentioned about, we spoke a little bit about how SoundFlow traditionally used this kind of workaround with the Mac accessibility features. And I think you mentioned it's called SFX.
That's right. Yeah. So we, basically what happened was that we had built a tutorial system that we wanted to integrate into Pro Tools. And this also uses flows. So just super quickly, I can show this off and then it will make sense about what SFX is. But this is our new tutorial system that is powering the, you can see powered by SoundFlow. This is powering all the new Pro Tools tutorials. And they have all this dynamic interaction where it knows what you've got on screen. It can do actions for you. It can react to I'm opening the pop-up menu. It knows to not have the dimmed mask on, and it can wait for you to do an action, and then it can do stuff for you like opening sessions. So for that entire system to work using accessibility, we would have been limited to only supporting that on macOS. And that was simply not acceptable. So we had to invent a new way of talking. And we have been working on something called SFX, that is the SoundFlow extension framework. So SFX is a completely new way of talking to Pro Tools and plugins. So the SoundFlow scripting engine, let me see if I can zoom in here. We used to implement everything through accessibility. That's the row of purple communication here. But all parts of that were implemented in a very Apple-specific way. And the way we spoke to Pro Tools, it was tied into Pro Tools' implementation of accessibility. So if there were any changes made, recently, for example, the word plugin changed its spelling, and then all of the scripts that referred to that spelling would break. But more importantly, this would never work on Windows. So there was no real good way of doing that. But we had implemented a prototype of SFX about a year ago, and it was decided that, let's use this for the future. And SFX is built from the ground up to be, real-time communication, low resource use, extremely fast and reliable, very quick to implement on the plugin side or on the DAW side. And it has, microsecond level latency. So it's built to send thousands of messages back and forth every second if needed. So that's why we can react so quickly to whatever's happening for the tutorials. And more importantly, it allows us to not just talk to UI elements, it allows us to provide these side panels, it allows us to do the co-authentication, and it allows us to even be in the Pro Tools dashboard.
Wow. And could this pave the way in the future for example, integration with, say, third-party plugins? Is there some scope for it to tie in with that?
Yeah, exactly. So originally it was actually built for plugins, but it obviously makes even more sense now that we're also in Pro Tools. But imagine the session assistant in the future be able to, let's say we were creating some tracks, we're setting them up, and now you're loading them with your favorite plugins, or you might even ask a specific plugin to change its settings in a specific way. So yeah, we are really, looking forward to working with plugin manufacturers on extending SFX support to them. But in addition to the AI features, of course, any plugin that supports SFX will then also be available for macros, for users to build decks for their stream decks, to control the plugins from iPads or Android tablets or phones even, and basically build their own interactions across all this various stuff. And now with SoundFlow built into Pro Tools, they'll reach a really large audience that way.
Nice. And this is something that I can see being extremely useful to people of all Pro Tools experience levels, from beginners through to advanced users. And on the more advanced users, the people who are perhaps already SoundFlow subscribers and are already well versed in it, I'm interested to see the updated version of the SoundFlow application itself.
Yeah, absolutely. We only hinted at this before, but let me open up the app here. So the first thing you'll notice is it's dark mode. And for now, it's dark mode only. We didn't have enough time to support 2 redesigns, so we started with 1. But yeah, the first thing you'll notice is a new, more intuitive navigation on the left-hand side. The home panel here has tutorials, or in these cases, links to content that we're hosting. If you're a new user, you want to set up SoundFlow with a Stream Deck, it's actually a flow, just like the tutorials we saw before. And, it will guide you through, it will install the content necessary. And then once it's done, it actually uses the tutorial system to control SoundFlow itself and show it off.
Okay.
So we're using our own technology to, like from the ground up. That also includes these new device pages. Once you're setting up Stream Decks, there's a way to identify your devices and sort of color code them. If you've got a problem, we can link to the troubleshooting article. You can see a log for exactly what's going on if you have problems with them disconnecting, for example. And we do the same for phones and for Yukon here, and we'll add more controls here for MIDI and HUI and all the various tools that we support. So it just becomes clearer for a new user who doesn't necessarily want to get to understand this entire, editor. So we left this mostly like it was, and we don't want to necessarily stop anybody who has learned how it works from continuing to be able to use it. So the editor is mostly itself, and the same goes for the store here. Then we're adding a new log. So this is really helpful for people who are like, want to understand why did something happen. If I found an error, I can search for it here. And then, all right, so we had a test macro that had an error. I can double click it. And now I get to navigate to the exact item. And a couple more pages. So we have a quick way to launch apps, which is, just really nice. The new version of Bounce Factory 2 here. Or any other apps you might have, and it's super nice. Like, they launch instantly from the screen. And finally, we've got a little statistics page that allows you to see your usage of SoundFlow over time. It's just stored locally and encrypted. But it's kind of a fun way to see, how much, are you getting out of this entire thing. But that's, of course, just the surface level stuff. What's really interesting to people, I think, will be the fact that you can take, let me see if I can find something here. This example here is a quick script that takes the selected track and clicks the pop-up menu to click on plugin. So if I just quickly assign a keyboard trigger to this, we go in. So this will, let me see, actually, we can super quickly remake that. Go in and say, let's click this waveform button and choose volume instead, right? So if would be a very normal script to have. And you can imagine you've got a script that's like hundreds of lines of code.
Yeah.
So the old way this would automate, and I should make sure to delete this SFX thing so I can actually show the demo. The old way this would automate would be to open the pop-up menu like that. Right, so this is an example of a previous script. Let's imagine you've got hundreds of lines of code doing stuff like this. As a pro user, all you have to do is add sf.ui.useSFX, and now your entire script will switch to the SFX route. So basically, the scripting engine and our implementation of SFX has been done in a way so that you can get all of the benefits of this new integration with almost zero work required on the user's side.
And that was just with that single line of code, really, wasn't it?
Exactly, yeah.
This is cool.
And there are some edge cases. If you're doing stuff with the OS, you'll have to sort of switch that because, of course, we're not integrating directly with Apple for SFX. But mostly, I would say 90-95% of scripts, you just add that one line of code and it just works. And in fact, Bounce Factory did that, and that's how we ensured it. Obviously, Bounce Factory is tens of thousands of lines of code. And that now works fully through SFX, which then also makes it cross-platform. So the moment you make it work through SFX, because that has no reliance on Apple, whatever we're doing here will also work on Windows.
Nice.
We've been looking for the right way to do it, where it would have that backwards compatibility, because it wouldn't be interesting if we added Windows support in a way that you had to write your scripts separately for macOS and Windows. But through SFX, it's now possible to use the same scripts on both sides. So everything we're clicking through in the deck here are working on Windows. And most of these flows, there's just a few of them that will require a little bit more work from us. And then, of course, over time, the full editor will become available on Windows with, all the different triggers. But again, that also will take a little bit more work. So we hope the Windows crowd will be patient, and at least there'll be an initial set of features available on Windows here.
Yeah, and this is really, the collaboration between Avid and SoundFlow has to be very close for this to have even been possible.
Yeah, and I mean, I can't thank Avid enough for that, and our team, and just the patience of the community and all the people who've told Avid over the years that this is really important. And it's something with so much potential. It sort of goes back to what we started with, that I hacked this together 14 years ago while being in film school, and then it grew slowly to become something bigger. But we were always afraid that Avid wouldn't like that for some reason, or they could have always chosen a different route. But we realized if you're building a tutorial system, it just has to work. It has to continue to work. It can't just be a hack. It can't just work on one platform. We can't wait on whenever Apple makes a change to their OS. What if everything breaks? So we needed an official, proper way to do it. And for all the years that people have said, well, all this functionality should really be built into Pro Tools. Well, here you go. Now it's here. Of course, we're still a separate company, so we still, I still need to pay my team, so we still have subscriptions, and we still, basically, you buy your stuff directly from SoundFlow, not through Avid. But it's from a technology and workflow standpoint, it's completely part of Pro Tools now, and we're just really, really excited about that. And of course, with SFX and this entire rebuild, we sort of built the foundation for a skyscraper, is how I like to say it. And now we've put a little medium-sized house on top.
Right.
But of course, with everything, re-engineered, there's so much more stuff we can build thanks to that, to the depth of this partnership. And we can't wait to continue to hear from the community which features you would like, and how we can continue to support you for many, many years to come.
Wow, there's so much going on with this. It's very, very exciting. Christian, thanks for taking the time to join us today to tell us all about SoundFlow 6. I know that as soon as we get off this call, I'm onto it. And I look forward to seeing what people are able to do with this.
Yeah, me too. We're really excited about this. Thanks for having me.